let's go ahead and start the stream. Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to Play It Painted Live. Hope you guys are having a fantastic Wednesday evening. I am just getting us set up, so give me just a moment, if you will, while I get set up. I don't know why I'm not signed in here. No. Alright, and let's try that. Oh, that's the wrong one. Okay. G3. I don't think this is right. I don't think that's right either. Oh, no, hey, that's right. Okay. Cool. So we're getting this set up. I'm going to change the name of this video. But yeah, we're going to town, folks. We're doing the thing. And I am going to hop in the Discord over to the on air. If anyone wants to join me in the on air section. There we go. Okay, so I'm in the on air section and let's go to live streaming. And let's go ahead and fix this. So once again, hope you guys are having a good Wednesday evening. We're going to do some building tonight. So I'm going to call this, whoa, stop. I'm going to call this Miscellaneous Model Building. Yeah, we're going to do that. And I'm going to wipe, well, I'll leave my extra life thing on there. Yeah, it's fine. And then let's go to, I'm just gonna test the chat here. Okay, and let's go ahead and watch this. Looks like we are good to go though. All right, so I've got a commission in that I need to build and paint. Tonight we're really just gonna concentrate on building it. So there's quite a few different styles of models and styles of bases here, because this is a hodgepodge commission. So I can't really batch anything, which is both a good and a bad thing. It's a bad thing from the standpoint of being able to efficiently crank these out, but it's not necessarily the worst thing. Okay, those are just gonna. So I'm figuring out what needs to be built, well, what needs to be stamped, and then what needs to be built in that order. And got lots of small parts. Got some really small miniatures here, and then a really big miniature, which I need to pop open right now. So yeah, we're gonna do this for a while. I haven't been doing much on the painting or building front since the Extra Life event on Saturday. Just because I'm just, it was such a rush of activity that I gave myself a couple of days off. And then also, to be frank with you, I've been playing some MMO stuff. So if you guys are following me on Twitch, you notice I spent a few of those nights just playing Ultima Online. But we're back. We're going to be doing this stuff. Ooh, look at this. Whoa. Stuff falling out all over the place. Looks like the Dahone here kind of comes with that kind of base. So the Dahone does not need to be stamped either. So that means really the only things that are getting stamped are I only have to stamp 3 things, which are these 3 things, and then I can just build everything. Interesting. Okay, that's good. I don't really like having to mess around too much with the stamping if I don't have to, but it looks like we're going to do a couple of steel plate stamps here, and then I think we're doing I think I'm doing like like a hex cobblestone stamp. Okay, that's already way too much product, but right now I'm gonna make my little putty, and that's probably more putty than I actually need to do this. But if you're just joining us, welcome to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting and what you should be painting. Tonight we're back on the commission trail. I still have a bunch of extra life stuff I need to do before the end of the year. And I was hoping to not have to do any of it once the event was over. You know, full disclosure, it's like I start the campaign early so that I can end on time, and there's just a bunch of loose ends. Somebody wrote me a check as a donation, which is super nice, but it's a pain to administer that kind of stuff. It's just she's a nice lady. Just wish she would get with the times. But you know, hey, it's going to a good cause, and if I got to do a little extra legwork to get that donation in, I will do that. Okay, so right now, just mixing up a little bit of this epoxy sculpt, and this epoxy sculpt may be going bad. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, but let's go ahead and let's do the stamping. So these don't. These are they're such a long, shallow. You're going to see the difference between being able to stamp a round lipped base and a flat base. Stamping flat bases is dumb and bad, and it's upsetting, uh, but it's okay. We, I don't like I don't like round bases. It's why sorry, flat bases. It's why when I did my RSDS stuff, I just went straight into the 30 millimeter base instead of the 25. So now I have to make a really small little piece here for the 25. It's gonna be really small, like that small, right? Like that. Let me make sure I'm gonna check my email, make sure I'm doing this right. um, oh, steel plate. Okay, so all three of them are steel plate. Okay, well, let's see what we can do here. So normally when I do this, get a little bit of water in between my fingers here to help smooth this out. And then you really just kind of make this as flat. I don't even, it's too small. I'm gonna have to make a bigger. Yeah, it's just gonna have to sit there. It's gonna be weird. I have to put that on there. It's got to have a certain thickness to it. Here's the problem with stamping flat bases is it's very hard to control the thickness. It like making that an even thickness all the way across and making sure that your stamping makes it all the way out to the edge and is still, especially in the case of steel plate, still gonna look okay once you stamp it. Okay, so I'm just gonna do that. If it overspills a little bit, I'll just trim it down. So you can see it's already kind of irregular looking. And then for a lipped base, watch how nice this is. You just go right up, you just drive it flush to the edge there. Look at that. And it just makes a nice flush base. It's just so much easier to do that with a with a round lip base, right? So here we go again. That's just really nice to be able to do that. So this one's gumming up on me a little bit. See how that one kind of jumped the edge there? That's okay. You can sculpt it right back in. See? And it looks nice. And you don't have problems. Okay? All right. Now let's stamp these puppies and start to build. So I need my steel plate base, and especially on this 25, I'm going to have to use the area that has the most amount of detail in it. So either that area or that area. Probably this area right here. This is good detail to it. Right there. Because it's random plate. So I'm going to stamp this. You can see I went way over that edge, which again, that's why I do not like this style of base. But it is what it is. That's how Corvus Belli makes their bases. It just makes it harder to do this kind of stuff. All right, so let's let that dry. And then let's stamp the other two. And then we're just going to do a bunch of building tonight. Right? And I guess I will build the metal piece first because it's the most annoying. I usually like to do the most annoying jobs first and then the least ones last. But you see how much easier that is? It just looks great when you do a round base like that, or a round lip base. Okay. So once again, nice little round lip base there. Yeah, and those are going to paint up just fine. Okay. So that's a time critical component. We start the stamp first, and then now we can go ahead and build. And like I said, I like to build from most difficult to least difficult, and then we take it from there. Okay, so most difficult is going to be dart. Dart comes in 3 pieces. So you get the main body, then you got the bow, and then you finally have the sword. Okay, and I usually pin this sword, so I'm probably going to do that again. Where? I just have to find my clippers. I'm going to apologize in advance for my coughing. I do have a bit of a cough that I'm currently fighting right now. Where are my clippers? Boo and boring. Alright, there they are. Okay. So, you want to clip this tab off without really messing with the position of the feet. And that isn't always the easiest thing to do because these feet are tiny. Dart has some tiny, teeny, tiny little feet here. I'm even worried about doing that. So I'm going to give myself, I gave myself a little bit of space there when I clipped that. So I can just file that down. So I don't want to mess with, I do not want to shortchange the foot. So I'd rather chop it with a bunch of extra on it that I can clean with a little bit better precision. And again, not trying to bend the feet here. All right, let's break out our file. I'm gonna just, it's gonna be a very quiet feed tonight. Well, let's see. Maybe people will hop on if they so choose. Okay. So right now I'm looking for tags. Looking for, that's a tag right there. Just little bits of flash that I can clean up right now, rather than being too far into the process and then seeing. Dart's one of my favorite miniatures that Corvus Belli has ever made. This limited edition Dart, so great. And I must have painted 4 of these, I think. I think this is the 4th time I've painted a Dart. And it's just great. She's got a really like sharp, clean face. The pose is good. And it's just a great model. All right. Just cleaning up the sword. The sword is gonna go, I believe the sword goes on her back. Gotta be careful with the arrows there. Want that quiver to be well. The sword goes right here. And I am gonna, I'll do a teeny tiny little pin there. Jeez, if the coughing gets too bad, I'll just end the feed, guys. All right. You see there's 2 tags here on the forward edges of the bow. This looks pretty good. There's a little tag there I can clean up. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Cool. Okay. Not bad. All right. let's throw some pins down. So use gold wire for pins. I'm gonna make 3 pins for this model. I'm gonna make a somewhat large, a long one, and then uh, a medium-sized one, and then a small one. That is if I didn't just immediately lose the first pin I cut, which happens. Oh, there it is. So that's actually a longer pin. These are some really tiny pins here for Corvus Belli. I guess I should thank Corvus Belli because without them, without their crazy kits, I would have never developed a pinning system quite this intricate. So thanks for making for making these kits as fiddly as possible, especially your older stuff buddies. Alright, so there's that one. Alright, then we get our bit. Oi, 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 oi. I had it. There it is. Okay. So now, here's where it gets tricky. So now I'm going to just drill a hole right in the center of this. And I know you guys can't see this very well. I apologize, but it's because it's so dang small that you're not going to see it very well. But all I'm doing is drilling a tiny, teeny, tiny little hole in this sword, right? So there's the teeny, tiny little hole. I may have cut this pin too small. Can't even see it. I thought I had it. Oh my gosh. Okay. My fingers are not small enough to really do this correctly. Alright, so I'm just going to cut another pin. Because that fit. That's way too big, actually. See that? That's too big. Let me see if I can get that tiny little pin in there. It's hard enough just to pick it up, right? Things like the size of a flea. Oh, look at that. I got it. Look at that. All right. So I gotta drop just a tiny little drop of glue there, just to keep that in place long enough for me to finish building. There we go. Right? Hoo-wee. What up with that? What up with that? All right. So that goes there. Now, then I've drill. Now, here's my usual logic here is I usually don't put the pin in the side that has the socket. I put the pin in the side that has the peg. So the shoulder here has the peg. So I'm going to drill into the shoulder. Well, I'm going to put the pin in the shoulder because the peg will help guide it into the socket. If I can get this to actually, I may have to give myself a flatter surface here to drill. So you notice I go one way with the needle file. Hey, what's up, Nelson? Oh, gosh. What are you working on this evening, sir? Oh, boy. Oh, man. Yeah. I'm putting together a commission for Albert here. Albert dropped off a bunch of stuff during Extra Life. Well, he was in the middle of winning a bunch of prizes like Albert always does every year. So right now, I'm building some miniatures for him. Okay, that's not the best spot for that pin, but I'm gonna make it work. It didn't quite fit in the peg the way I was hoping to. Um, Next part of this is I want to drop the last pin through this foot. So I'm gonna drill a hole in that foot too. Good old Corvus belly. You're just cooking? Nice. Walking your dog. Cool. How are your how are your geckos doing? Just gonna ask. Um, was annoyed he couldn't go. Stuck at work. Oh, that's a bummer. Oh well. Well, it's all good, man. You know, gotta make that living. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Um, there was so much stuff on auction. It was ridiculous. Comic Quest basically threw their entire 50% off board games collection in there, which meant we probably ended up raffling off 100 items, and we ended up making over $700 for the day, which was pretty good. Um, I threw in that Joan of Arc thing, which got so many tickets. The Joan of Arc got a lot of tickets, and the Crystal Fortress with the Malifaux crew in it got a lot of tickets as well. Okay, and I also need to drill a hole right here for the sword. Ugh. You don't need to go that deep. But yeah, it was a good event. At first, I was worried because it looked like there was so much stuff to raffle that I was like, man, we're not even going to be able to play games because it took over like 3 of the tables just with all the board game stuff. Um, and then we figured it out though. We made it work. We had 2 raffles throughout the day. The first raffle was really to try to just clear enough room so that we could game. But yeah, it worked out, and it was fun, like I said. But now I have a bunch of. I still have to do the second online raffle. I got a schedule for that. And I don't have any. Uh, I don't have any commitment yet for um, Andrew or Yvonne or Josie regarding when we can game again. I don't know if that's even going to be a thing, or maybe we do it. I don't know. Maybe Thanksgiving week might be a good time to do that. We'll figure it out. So I had a little bit of a development right before I kicked the camera on here tonight. Uh, my wife calls me over to the kitchen to tell me that we have, uh, that we have lizards in our tank, in our crested gecko tank, and I go over there, and sure enough, there was a baby lizard. There was a baby gecko um, right at the tank, and you know, I thought she would be mad at me because she warned me about separating the geckos, and I didn't do it. I was like, the tank's not even ready. Our female isn't even big enough. I haven't been feeding them insects, so they don't even. She probably doesn't even have enough calcium to lay eggs. So I had like 900 excuses why they couldn't have a baby, and then they had a baby. So then we're looking at this baby and we're trying to figure out, okay, what do we do with it now? Uh, and I was like, And I told her, I said, crested geckos lay eggs in pairs, so maybe the other egg just never hatched. And so we're looking at this baby, and I look closer at the tank, at one of the plants in the tank, and there's the other one. So now there's two babies in there. And they must have hatched, I don't know, they could have hatched yesterday. They're super small. Um, so I ran down here to the hobby room and quickly, let's give this a little bit of an angle to it. That that's a nice angle. So I came down here and then uh, grabbed one of those Tupperware sets that I used to make wet pallets back in the day, like a taller one that just didn't really make a very good wet pallet, and drilled a bunch of holes in that, cleaned it out real quick, and I put the two babies in there. So now we have four crested geckos, and we got to decide what we're going to do with those babies, because um, well, when my son sees them, he's going to want them. But frankly, I don't think we should keep four geckos. It's not the end of the world, but it just means we'd have to have more aquariums around the house and take care of more stuff. So my plan is um, to get them into a nice healthy weight. Feed them up, see how they do, and then maybe try to give them away or sell them or something. So if you are in the market for some crested geckos, I have two new crested geckos that are looking for a home. All right. All right, so we're gonna do this little codifier braid stuff. Um, yeah, good old crested geckos. So that's the short-term issue. The long-term issue is I don't want my adults mating. Uh, so I don't know. So I'm gonna have to separate the adult. The main thing is I got to get the male out of that tank, because the male is kind of dominating that tank now, and he's making it harder for the female to go, get food and that kind of stuff. So I have to deal with that. But it was weird. Yeah, yeah, you can. I mean, it's gonna be a while. I'm probably gonna keep them at a minimum. I'll keep them for a couple of months, just to get them at a healthy weight to where they're not just gonna die on somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. Um, and then, well, I think the first hurdle is trying to convince my son that we don't need four crested geckos, because I know his default answer is we need four crested geckos, Daddy. And I'm gonna say no, we don't. We don't even handle the adults that we have. That's a lot of that's my fault though. I don't like to get them out during the day, which is really when you should be handling them before they get too skittish in the evenings. You just realized how big the geckos are now, because when you see the newborns, you're like, oh yeah, when we brought them home they were that big, and look at how big they are now. Okay. Okay, I remember why I hated these kits. These are terrible little PVC kits. That doesn't fit very well. It's just not keyed well. So you kind of have to make it up. Like that should go like that. Sure. Like wherever it sticks. That's where the arm is supposed to go. You know, it's just not very precise the way they used to do these. There we go. There. So he's like that. And then let's put together coat of fire Bray. He's just kind of a weird looking dude. There's a weird mold line here right across his hair. But yeah, I'll keep an eye, we'll see those. They were really, it's a miracle that they were born, because we did not set up that tank to be any kind of egg laying chamber at all. The mom wasn't the best weight, so I was like, yeah, she's low weight. I don't even think that's gonna be a thing. And then yeah, and so no egg laying chamber. The mom wasn't a good weight, and I wasn't exactly throwing a lot of calcium in there, and we also didn't chill the lizards, which is typically something you would do if you were intentionally breeding crested geckos. Yes, crested geckos are like the rabbits of the lizard world. You don't just leave them in there together. They're gonna get it on. And we saw them getting it on before. And I was like, they're not breeding weight. It's fine. Now my wife can do a big I told you so dance. Although she seemed to be pretty happy, even though it was like, wait, we didn't want to have baby geckos. Life finds a way. It sure does. And it just goes to show you that it doesn't matter what we do. If they want to do that, that's what they're gonna do. All right, so we built those two. We'll glue those in their base in a minute. We also got these. We also get this critical role miniature. Which is this cool little Kenku thing on this teeny tiny little base. And Albert wants a force base on that, which is gonna be weird. But okay. I think it looks cooler just on a flat base like that, because it's such a small model. You really want to highlight, the job they did on the detail, which is quite good actually. I just have such a bias against resin minis, though. I just cannot get behind. I've built resin minis from 4, 5, 6 different companies, and I just don't think they're great. I don't think they're great kits. This is really good detail. This is probably one of the best uses of resin, is to do something super fine detail like this. But when you see large resin kits, or the Guild Ball resin, when you saw how good they were in metal, it's not that impressive. I just recently put together my what's it called? My resin alchemist team for Guild Ball. Yeah, he's just holding out a knife like that. I trust my judgment. Hey, what's up, Albert? Yeah, I don't know. I think it would look better like this, but I can also put texture on it. I think that's the best way to do that, is I'm just gonna put a teeny tiny little bit of texture on here, and then glue it on, like the smallest amount possible. Because you don't want too much going on on the base to just distract from the model. You know, it's super cool. A little bit of texture I think would be fine. Just don't want to overdo it. So I'm going to just try to put the smallest amount humanly possible on there. How you doing tonight, Albert? Also, if you haven't noticed the pattern on my show, what I usually do is I bitch a lot during the build phase, and then by the time the model's done being painted, I'm like, oh, that was a cool kit, it was super fun, I'm gonna do it again. So take everything what I'm saying, take what I'm saying right now with a grain of salt. It's always no, I just, building and and basing isn't my favorite activity. The painting is. And I know for a lot of people it's the opposite. They like to build. They don't like to paint. Oh, geez. Also, this is not sticking. So, wow, it's just all coming off. Okay, start over. I'm gonna use the black. I have to use the black pumice. The gray pumice is gray pumice is DOA. We're gonna go with black lava. Black lava is gonna scare you a little bit. I'm just waiting for Liam to wake up. That's right, Liam is still a really, really little guy. So Kiri is like a Kenku, right? It's a Kenku type character. So I'm just putting a teeny tiny little bit of texture on here. Just so that when we paint it, we can put it on, make it look like it's on a dirt base. This is one of the smallest bases I've ever actually done this to. But really good detail on this miniature. They did a good job, even though they didn't. I want more Guild Ball. Do more Guild Ball, Steamforged. I get that you made good money off Critical Role fans by doing this and the other IP stuff you're doing. But make more Guild Ball. Come on. Come on, man. I think those board gamers, the board game scavengers, they made the killing, right? Board game scavengers did they must have thrown in maybe $20, $25 total. And because they spread them all out in all the different buckets, they just walked out of there with like boatloads of uh, boatloads of um, board games. Whereas, a guy like Andrew probably dropped $200 that day. I think he came in. He just kept asking me, like trading up red for red tickets, and I must have given him. I don't know. I'm thinking conservatively. I gave him between 30 and 40 red tickets. So I think that dude dropped like $200 that day, which sounds about right for Andrew. Andrew's pretty hardcore when it comes to Extra Life. And I don't know if he won. I don't think he won a lot of prizes, but whatever. He's just happy. I won a prize, which is cool, and I'm gonna break that out at some point and make a Guild Ball match report from that. That being the Rat Catchers team. Okay, so next we're gonna build. I guess I'm gonna build this Dahone. Yeah, that Mark C guy won like 1,000,000 board games. And then there was a couple there that they split up all their prize things. This big ol' 60 mil base. So this commission has like the smallest miniature and then the biggest miniature. Dahone. Alright. Now we get to figure out how all this goes together. I'll stick this on the back so I can see. It looks like that goes like there. So this is gonna go on the base like that, and then I'll texture around the base to make it a rock base. Alright. So first up, oh wow, where's the other half of the head? Okay, so you got this half of the head, which I believe goes like, that's the top half of the head, and then the bottom half of the head goes like that. Okay. Nice and easy. Let's make a couple of things here. Yeah, the board gamers, they got the value stuff. Now the cool thing about about how that raffle worked was the board gamers and the miniature gamers were able to bid exactly what they wanted, so they could really increase their chances. Like you weren't competing with the board gamers weren't competing with like Andrew and Kevin and stuff for the prizes they wanted, and vice versa. So even though there were plenty of people in the prize pools, there wasn't a lot of like outside of the grand prizes, there wasn't a lot of like really direct competition for stuff. Okay. Trying to figure out how the legs go here. Look at that. Oh, you got this Dahone. Oh, so this is a kit that I've raffled off in a previous year. Sounds about right. And I'm like, I don't think Albert is going to be playing Relic Knights anytime soon. Why would he want a Dahone? Yeah, that is correct. That goes like that. And then these are the rear legs. Okay. Let me get a couple of mold lines off. So PVC kits are pretty good at this scale when you're talking, you know, 50, 60 millimeter models. They're pretty good and they're good value. Cleanup kind of sucks though. PVC models have really, really annoying mold lines that you have to chop through. Chop through or scrape. At least it's not resin though, so you could sand it if you needed to. Alright. The problem with PVC kits though is that they're keyed funny, so they don't necessarily, like, that's not the best fit. I don't even think I made contact with glue there. It's kind of bad. Yeah, I did not. I did not. Didn't make any contact with glue. That sucks. That's the downside to PVC. You plan to use these models for D&D? This is a great model. Let's see if it can.
Is it okay if I put the apple in there with them?
With the babies?
Yeah, no, the babies, the big ones.
Yeah, you can put it in there for a little bit. Just get it out after a day or two.
Yeah, where's the babies?
They're upstairs. They're on top of the tank.
Oh, they are. I didn't see.
Yeah.
Okay, come on.
Don't open the lid. Just
I'm
you
not
can
gonna
just look
touch
at
them.
them.
I just want to see what they are.
Okay.
I just want to look at them.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna touch them. They're so small.
They're so small. Yeah.
They're so small. Baby, we have babies again. Here, I say hi to everybody.
Okay.
Hi,
Well,
everybody.
huh?
Hi.
Oh, I don't have a face cam on right now, but they might have.
Did you tell them that we have babies?
I did tell them that we have babies.
Babies. And you want to be the baby, but you're the oldest baby, and you're not even a baby anymore. All right, bye.
Good night. All right. Yeah. So Elizabeth just wants to look at the babies. I guess she's not mad that I miscalculated their ability. I underestimated my lizard's ability to breed. How about that? That's the best way of putting this. Oh my gosh, these are not making contact. They're not making contact. That's a really poor kit. It has these sockets and it does not make contact with the. They have all these sockets keyed in and these arms are not making contact with them. So nothing is staying. That is upsetting. So I'm just going to have to stick it. I'm going to have to glue here around the edges a little bit more and have the edges grab. Good old Ninja Division. Good job, guys. That was sarcasm, if you couldn't tell. Like, their kits don't. That's embarrassing. Why are you going to have a kit this big and you can't even get the legs to contact? They're just keyed poorly. Man, I may have to break out accelerant to get these to stay. How annoying, dude. Oh my gosh. Like, that's embarrassing. Did you see how with the other models, you just glue them and they stick? Oh shit. Look at that. Aristea terrain that I totally did not spray. Oh well. Where is that accelerant? We're gonna have to use accelerant to get these to lock into place. Because bad, that's why. That's so dumb. There. Freeze. Freeze ray. Like, why should I have to do this on a really big joint like that? A really big joint like that on a miniature should just fit snug. Yeah. Ninja Division, they're still trying to make stuff. So that the claim is that they're going to try to rebuild their Kickstarters and fulfill them eventually. Whatever, dudes. I'm not holding my breath for that. They effed up 5 Kickstarters. Okay, 5. I can get you screw up one, maybe you screw up two, but they just kept doubling down to the point where now they've failed to deliver 5 Kickstarters. So you know, your fault, dudes. I backed. I, I'm yeah. I mean, I'm still a little sore over it because I really liked. I liked the. I liked so much about their games. I thought Relic Knights had the potential to be one of the best miniature games out there because it has so many cool things going for it. But the issue is that um, make sure I'm doing that right. But they never could quite complete the game the way it deserved to be completed. What I mean by that is they had a reasonably good rule set that just needed language cleanups. It could have used another scenario or two, um, and could use some actually like organized play type support. They had their the model design, the character and model designs for Relic Knights are fantastic. You know, they're unlike anything out there right now. They're true anime, not like Infinity anime. Infinity anime is just sort of just it's just Ghost in the Shell anime, if that makes sense. It's not really um, it's not anime, right? Relic Knights anime is deep anime. Right, Ghost in the Shell is just one style of anime, and Infinity is Ghost in the Shell anime. Like they could have, with this property and with Takahashi University, they could have done some really, really cool stuff, right, with their IPs, with that IP. Then they went to resin from P. So they started PVC, which is the worst material for making 25 to 32 millimeter miniatures. In my opinion, the worst material you can use is PVC because it does not have good um, detail properties and it's cheap. That's the advantage to it. It's cheap, but you're never going to get anything really, really crisp at that scale. You can make big models like this and they'll look cool. And so that's why what's it called? Faction for Relic Knights looks great. The Oni faction looks great. But the hardcore like bubblegum like the bubblegum lolly type factions don't look great. There's a bunch of individual trooper models that look terrible, like Shattered Sword Paladin troops look terrible, Pit Crew troops look terrible. Um, anyways, so they started off with PVC, which is, like I said, the worst for standard miniature scale. Then they went to resin, which allowed them to actually take more advantage of the artists that they have access to, which is great. But then their resin molding kits had a ton of issues too. They were never able to get it quite right, both in terms of the you know the rules, the rule sets, uh, and the miniatures. So, but I really liked them. I thought that I was like, I can, if we really like stick with Relic Knights and let it mature, let it grow, and as part of the player base and one of the most vocal supporters of Relic Knights, we could really help them refine that game. We're involved in. I was involved in every single playtest they ever did, um, and uh, and sent them plenty of feedback. And I felt like the game was moving in a very good direction. It was a very fun game, man. Think about this. It's a 30 to 45-minute game that plays at around the same model count as Malifaux. That's freaking amazing. And you got a reasonably good tactical experience out of it, right? Like what more do you want, man? That is good stuff. Right? That's the makings of a good game. That's the motherland right there. Good tactical experience within 1 hour. Like that's where you want to be. And they were right there. All they had to do was like make a Kickstarter and fulfill it. Am I just not? No, I had that right the first time. That goes like that. That goes like that. And this goes. Here we go. Sorry, I have to do that off camera. It's just too big. Oh, again with the PVC. So that all has to stay like that. This model's under a high amount of tension. Jeebus, I filled the entire thing with glue. And where'd the other horn go? They both just popped right off. Look at that. It's still a cool sculpt, don't get me wrong. Oh, but now it doesn't. Oh man, that's annoying. Oh no, so really the only way to get this to oh gosh. Good old PVC. See, this is what happens. I talk shit about them, and they just prove me right. It's just proving me right with the way this kit is behaving right now. Oh my gosh. Because that's not straight. This leg here, I'm just gonna bend it out a little bit so that it fits. Okay. Let's put this out. I am gonna need some more glue. Oh gosh. I think that's just the way I mean, it still looks okay. This foot here isn't quite on the rock. I don't have a choice. That's just, unless well, maybe I back this up a little bit. There we go. Let's try one more thing I can try. No, back that up a little bit. Right? And the foot has to be off the, no, that's the way it's gotta be. Unfortunately. It's not quite on there the way it should be. There we go. Okay. Next up is the Dark Sword miniatures, which are all one piece. I don't know if I'm gonna. They're so small. I don't think I have to do anything to these really. I could put them on bases. Let's see what that might look like if I did that. Actually, maybe we just don't put them on bases. I think, what if I just did, yeah, since they're so small, I don't know. Let me see what I have. If I have any bases to put them on. I think it's gonna look weird, but let's just see. I am just about entirely out of small bases. May have kept some from like Aristea or something. Like those are good. I can do those. And then for the mama, I need a bigger I need a bigger base. What else we got, man? What about this? Would she fit on a 40? Not quite. I need a flat 40. Have a good night. Yeah, I got a little bit of a cough I'm fighting right now. It's no biggie though. Thank you for asking. I'll be fine. Have a good night, Albert. Hope the babies are doing well. Look at that. Look at that. You just do that, buddy. Looky. Let's just do that. Ugh. Okay. So let's get these glued down, and then it's just a matter of putting texture on those. So we'll get that guy going. What are these little baby owlbears? I'm assuming one of these is called Liam and the other one's called Noah. This is the Liam owlbear and this is the Noah owlbear. Why not? Why not? Okay, look at that. You see how glue works on not annoying Ninja Division stuff? It just works. Like a normal piece of glue should work. Go figure. So we'll glue these down, and then I'll put some texture on them in a few. The other thing we can do, let's do the final two minis, which are these Saint Nick minis. And this is going to be one of those few instances where I actually use the Slata base, because why not? Because these are going to be they're going to be they're going to be snow based, so I can just glue this, assuming it fits in there. Yes, it does. Good job, Reaper. I can just glue those in there. And then it's, like I said, it's just a matter of using the pumice texture to give them a little bit of texture, and then you put snow on it at the end. All right, so there's one, and then there's two. And really, I think to there. And I think tomorrow night I'll start painting. Alright. Okay. Alright. So while all that's drying, let's put dart on that 25mm base. She just kind of barely fits. She's gonna go right there. That drill go. So just put a hole right there. And we can glue her in place. And then we glue codifier Bray and the other guy. And then the rest of this night is just gonna be applying the pumice texture. And then that's all we're doing tonight. We're just gonna do that and that. I don't even know. I don't even know if that Dahone is gonna be dry enough to do this. Why is the pin fighting me? There it goes. Okay. So that's gonna go like that. There's dart on her 25mm. Let's do codifier Bray. Oh, he's got a little bit of a peg there that I can use. Actually, I want to cut it. I'd rather cut it flush than try to use it. And then I'm not going to prime tonight because I don't want to ruin the pumice texture that I'm going to put down. Actually, let's put Bray on this one. Looks more interesting. So he's going to go on that one. And good old weird tiny little bot here. Rip Relic Knights, one of my favorite games of all time. Such a great game, really was. There we go. All right, and put the cap back on this if I can find it. Let's start working with some texture here. All right. I didn't realize I was doing 9 models, including a big, it's quite a value commission here. All right, so quite the valued commission here. That Dahone's gonna be super fun to paint though. No lies. Once we're done with this annoyance, right? The fact that that thing is just not gonna fit there. I'm gonna plug that hole first thing I do. Plug the hole. And then we're gonna put all this fun texture down. You just really have to keep it thin around the claw, which was kind of nice to have a rock attached to the base. You know how I typically hate tactical rock, especially for night models. I hate tactical rock, but this is one of those instances where tactical rock actually makes a lot of sense. You got a big ol' alien monster beast. Throw a tactical rock in there, you know. Take advantage of height as opposed to length to make a really, really big model. Night models kind of does the opposite when they're doing. They'll take a regular 32 millimeter model and they'll figure out how it how to put it on a 60 millimeter base with all this stuff and then tell you in the middle of their game that you're supposed to treat it like it's on a 30. And you're like, what? Because it's beautiful. Alright. Okay. So that's pretty good. It's about as quick and dirty as you're gonna get. On these, I'm just gonna clean up the bottom. Yeah, they look pretty good. Looks pretty good. Alright. So next up are these two Nick the Rogue miniatures. They're like Santa's elves, but they're thieves. Thieves. That's way too much pumice. I'm just trying to get enough texture on this base, just to make it believable. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to cover up the little feet there. Although, as this will be a snow base, we probably will lose a bunch of detail on the bottom of the miniature, just as a consequence of making it a snow base. Because by the time we're all done painting, and I have to make a little bit of snow concoction to put on there, I'm not going to see much of the feet at the bottom of that mini. It's true, a 3x3 foot base with extra fluff, but treated as a third. Yep, good old night models. There was Mark was complaining about, Mark and Congo were complaining about third edition, the fact that there's already going to be a third edition of Batman. That doesn't bother me. Batman needed work. Let's face it, Batman needed work. Batman was it's too convoluted of a rule set. No one wants to play it because it takes too long to set up, and then it's just really clunky feeling. Malifaux is a long game, and it's got all kinds of intricate rules to it, but it still doesn't feel clunky. You can be overwhelmed by the amount of rules in Malifaux. I would totally agree with you there. But when you see how they used all that intricacy to make some really interesting playstyles and give you a lot of true, tactical decision making during your game, a lot of us anyways are willing to make that trade-off. We're like, okay, that's fine. We'll still, I don't like that the games take 2 hours. I still don't like, it's my least favorite part of Malifaux is how long the games take. But I'm willing to let a bunch of that slide because the game itself, while taking 2 hours, is still a good, enjoyable, tactical experience. my opinion, all miniature games should really do their best to try to be finished within an hour. I think that should just be gold standard in my opinion for most, skirmish games. If you're playing a war game and you want to make an afternoon or an evening of it, I get that. That's fine. But if you're playing a skirmish game, that's not your intent at all. You're you're playing a skirmish game because you want a smaller, tighter, more tactical experience. So an hour is where you should really be in a skirmish game. I'm, you know, I've been playing around. I've been playing around with, um, how I always joke that every miniature gamer makes their own miniature game rule set, almost like the way, it's like making a mixtape or starting a record label, you know? It's like I'm starting a miniatures game. I've been playing around with that cuz we all think it's fun. Regardless of how serious we are about making an actual game, it's fun to just take a crack at your own rules and going, okay, what if I was making a game, what would my game be? And I've been working on it, and uh, I want to start playing around with it a little bit more, and it would give us the excuse to break out, a bunch of the miniatures that we really like, but we don't really like the games for, or those games are discontinued. Perfect example would be Eldorado minis, Anima Tactics. The game that I'm designing, that I'm homebrewing, is really is mainly an opportunity for us to field Anima Tactics minis because I think those are some of the best minis ever made. Were Anima Tactics minis. This is some of the greatest, you know, some of the greatest miniatures I think ever made were Anima Tactics minis. Right up there with Rackham and some of their awesome kits when they did Confrontation. Those are like some of the best, if not the best, miniatures ever made. Okay. So that's I so yeah, I don't know. I want to work on it, and then I'm gonna find a willing participant. I have somebody in mind, and I know who will help me workshop this. And if it's right, the game is done in 35 to 45 minutes. That's what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for a very fast tactical game. And but I'm really going for some interesting interactions, we'll say, in the game. I'm really trying to make something a little bit different than what's out there. Like really different than what's out there, I guess. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, buildy build, the first part of this commission is done. I'm just gonna let stuff dry. I'm not gonna prime anything tonight, but yeah. So a few different basing techniques involved tonight: stamping, texturing, and then we're gonna do snow effects and that kind of stuff, right? Yeah, I know you want to play Batman again, Nelson. I Yvonne keeps bugging me about it. She wants to try Batman or DC because she loves DC, and I promised her I would teach her. So that it is on our list of games that we want to cover. Um, so take that for what you will. So yeah. Anyways, Owlbear family. They're just gonna be. You can see how you just use that texture to kind of take care of that metal tab. We're gonna give this plenty of time to dry. And then two of these Noah miniatures. Hey, what's up, Larry? Happy to help. Cool, man. Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna, um, yeah, I'll keep working at it, and I can't promise anything soon, but it's we're really work. I'm really working around uh, overall experience. I started there. I think a lot of people when they design miniature games are really trying to sell you on the world that they've created. And I get that. Like, oh, I created this really awesome world. I'm going to, there's this great fluff and we're going to do this stuff. And then you're going to jump into this game. And my experience with playtesting other people's games, because I used to do it for friends, and I then it just never went well, right? Because I would do it for friends, and I would tell, and I would give them my honest opinion, like, this game's too long. Or I would tell them, this game reminds me too much of another game. Why should I play your game? And I'm trying to, and I say this in like trying to say it in like the most constructive way possible, but I'm like cutting to the quick here for brevity's sake. But I'll tell them like straight up, like, I play tested a friend of mine's game who was, really excited, as everybody's really excited to have their game tried out. Um, so I tried out his game and I said, this game reminds me too much of this other game. Why should I play your game as opposed to this other game that already exists and I like? And it wasn't the, it just was not well received. But I mean, you have to accept feedback like that. I play tested another game um, for somebody that ended up being a very, or not very, a fairly successful game. Like it's a game out there and it's got its own life, and it's been featured on YouTube a bunch of times. Um, and I tried out his game when he was just starting, and I said, "There's not enough game here for me." That's what I told him. I said, "I'm a miniatures gamer. There's not enough game here for me." I said, "But you know what? Don't take that as a bad thing. Maybe this game isn't for me. Maybe this game is," and I can't claim responsibility for this, but I did tell him, show this game to people who normally wouldn't play games and maybe they'll love it, right? And what this guy did was he took his game and demoed it in the most unusual places: record stores, tattoo parlors, bars. I'm not kidding. And he showed off his game that way, and it picked up steam. And when I saw it in that setting, and I also told him, I'm like, this game is actually fantastic multiplayer. It's a I would almost call it a multiplayer party miniatures game, which it did not exist, and people do not design in that space for miniature games. Think about that for a minute. How cool that is. That is it's a for a miniatures gamer like myself. It's like, yeah, there's not enough here. I'm not that interested in playing your game. But if I'm in a bar, and if I'm at Gamecraft Brew and I've got three friends with me, and we don't feel like playing Monopoly or Connect Four or whatever, or Jenga, which is like the big game there at Gamecraft, I would play this game, right? Um, I've been beating around the bush too much, but I might as well tell you the game is Wild in the Streets, um, which Chris Kohler put out. And like I said, Chris showed me the game 4 or 5 years ago, and I played the game, and I was like, it's all right. It's got really basic miniature mechanics, and in his defense, it wasn't the game hadn't been fully fleshed out yet. We were just playing mechanics and playing with some of the models that he put out, which are fantastic, by the way. Wild in the Streets is completely it's one of the really out and left field miniature games. And if you like 80s 1980s punk rock, um, in counterculture stuff, death cult girls, goths, um, straight edge. Yes, there are skinheads in the game, but not the skinheads the way you think of skinheads these days. So I don't want to freak people out. Um, but if you're really into that like punk scene, and I loved it because that theme is just like it's way out there, and like yeah, I want to play that. That's crazy. You get to play biker chicks against goth people. I want to play that, and um, and we started to play it, and I'm like yeah, it's not enough game, but when I started to see like the event and equipment cards that you get, and the way the turns proceed, we played a multiplayer game, a four-player game, and I was like, this game is great for four players. And miniature games for football for four players is pretty hard to do. There's only a handful of games that miniature games that play really well at multiplayer. This being probably the best one. Relic Knights played well for four players. Rip Relic Knights. Um, Arena Rex is one of the best multiplayer miniature games. So if you're gonna play multiplayer, those are the games I would put out in front of you and say play those games. Anyways, that game ended up being this crazy fun party game, super thematic, but beer and pretzel, but for the right reasons, right? You're gonna play this game at a bar. You're gonna play this game at a party, like someone's house party. You would play Wild in the Streets. I would play Wild in the Streets. It's great for that. I'm not gonna break out Malifaux somebody's house. We're not gonna get the widgets out and play Guild Ball and I'm gonna measure everything out perfectly and go, oh yeah, it's great. And somebody's gonna throw Doritos at me while I'm doing that. It's not you see what I'm saying though. But there's games like that. Like there's a good sorry, knock the camera. There's a good time and place for stuff like that. Um, but yeah, it's aiming at an overall experience of game. Um, and some of the things. Hey, what's up, Dicey? Some of the things that I personally think is what's missing in miniature games. Um, so rather than write this like crazy convoluted world and hope everybody is just uh, you know all on board for something like that, it's more around crafting an experience for miniature games that I think would give people overall a more enjoyable, faster experience, but also would potentially broaden an audience, kind of like Wild in the Streets did. I feel like that game, while it will never be a big time mainstream game, it's got a really cool cult following, you know. And I still have a bunch of my Wild in the Streets stuff, like I oh my I gotta decide if we're gonna have Yvonne play that. She wants to play Aristea next, so I'll teach her Aristea. But I gotta teach her Wild in the Streets at some point because she would go nuts over that game. This is super fun. We should I should record a multiplayer Wild in the Streets game as the intro because that's really, in my opinion, that's really where that game shines. Is you get two or three people. I would say ideally you want three people playing, one person that knows the game, two people that are brand new, and uh, and you put them on the board and you let them have at it, and you show them how fun the different crews are for Wild in the Streets, and you just enjoy it that way. Now we're talking about doing like workshop and stuff for the channel, but um, yeah, I um, I don't think yeah I don't think I have a game for probably the next 3 or 4 months, um, and but I can give you some basics on it right now. 4 miniatures per team. 4 miniatures per team, plays on an area around 2 by 2. Should be done within 35 to 40 minutes. Um, and the interesting thing, um, you don't you don't remove models. Models are they're not permanently removed. And so if you think like Guild Ball, okay, you take out a model and it comes back in, but it's got to come back in like far in the field. If you're playing on a 2 by 2, when you come back in, you're back in, right? I don't even know. I haven't even decided for sure if that's the case, that models even get removed at all. Um, they're just going to interact with each other in a way that most miniature gamers aren't used to. But it's one of my complaints about miniature games, and it's one of the reasons why I don't think miniature games is appeals to people, appeals to a broader audience, because the point of most miniature games is to remove the other person's miniatures. And there's people out there that love the beautiful miniatures, that want to paint and collect miniatures, but they don't want to put them on a board with the express intent of, you know, eliminating another person's ability to use their models, right? That's a sad thing that I think wargamers, we all accept, but I don't think gamers in general necessarily accept that, if you catch my drift, right? Um, we put an army down, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna put this army down. That other dude gets first turn. I'm gonna lose like 20% of my pieces right out of the gate. We just accept that. Actually, I don't, because I don't play 40k anymore. But we just accept that that the other player is gonna come by and remove miniatures before we even had the chance to enjoy them. And I think that leaves a sour taste in a lot of hobbyists' mouths, that are like, oh, I spent 3 hours and I painted this really awesome dart and I wanted to do cool stuff. And you put dart on the board, and first turn Aristea, it's like, oh, I rush across the field with Valkyrie and I rolled a bunch of stars and rolled a bunch of blanks and she's dead. Good job. Right? Um, so these are things that I see as problems that I don't think a lot of miniature gamers see as problems, because it's these are things that they've accepted, that just, no, it's just the way it is. It's just the way miniature games are. And it's one of the reasons why I don't think the miniature gaming audience is as broad as it could be. If you look at the potential of just painting a miniature, how many people are excited by that prospect? And if you look at, especially if you look at the ratio of hobbyists to gamers, and if you want to play the identity politics thing, you can get into that too and go, well, look at how many women are painting miniatures and they don't play the games. Why don't they play the games? Well, I think one of the reasons was what I just pointed out. They don't want their pieces to just evaporate before they even have a chance to use them. The rest of us accept that. They also don't like this idea that, you know, that these games tend to center around linear thinking. And I don't want to explain that too much. And I hope I'm generalizing hobbyist here. I'm not talking about gender. I'm talking about hobbyist to gamer. Hobbyists don't necessarily favor. Oh, my mic is dying, so I'm probably gonna have to end my feed anyway. Anyways, it's stuff like that I want to look at and really attack for a game. But anyways, my mic is dying and things beeping on me. I'm done building everything, so I'm gonna call this feed here. I want to thank everyone for watching. I probably will stream tomorrow night and do a little priming and painting. So that's gonna do it for this video. I want to thank everyone for watching. Have a good night, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.